If you find a kid that loves something, it's amazing what they can do. Every kid has a passion. Everybody has something that they love to do.
Fundamentally, we're talking about projects that matter to kids, and ultimately those projects create ideas, they create information that matters in the greater world.
I see ARP as your passion, just like a passion project, something that you really love and are really excited about and you get to do.
ARP is the school's academic research program. It's a 4-year program that teaches students how to really be creative and curious. It starts freshman year. You kind of learn the basis of what research is, what a credible source is.
In 9th grade, the students learn how to find those credible sources, how to ask questions. That's really what we're about, is the ask of the question.
It's really about taking that curiosity, honing it in, and finding specific questions from something broad to something specific.
What's beautiful about ARP 9 is that work supports things they're doing in other classes. So that first biology lab report that you have to do, that background research, you're learning about it in ARP 9 and you're actually producing something that's going to have value somewhere else. In the 10th grade, they explore those skills in the disciplines.
We're really into the hands-on aspect in 10th grade. Like, we're doing a lot of site visits in history, so we're not just sitting in a classroom reading about a place or learning about people. We're actually going there and experiencing it firsthand to know what the people felt like in that time.
The interesting part about our ARP 10 course is that it specifically focuses on a place-based history with Detroit as the sense of place. The theory behind that is when we hear about current events, when we watch the news, we think of that through a local lens. We think of that specifically for how does this affect us? And so why not approach history the same way?
And then in the 11th grade is when we go through a whole scaffolding process of what are you interested in? How do you want to do this? What's the big picture? What do you want to create? What's your final outcome? And then they actually conduct their research in the 12th grade.
I've always been interested in engineering. I'm actually a part of my school's robotics team, and also I've always been really passionate about problem solving and the environment. My project is demonstrating the potential to improve and implement hydroelectricity, and more specifically at our school campus by installing generators on the ice arena in order to generate some clean electricity, promote action against climate change, and reach out to the young people in my community. I 3D printed a miniature scale model. I did some calculations to see how much energy would be required to power a multi-device charging station, and I participated in the Science and Engineering Fair at Metro Detroit.
When I asked her to submit her project to the Detroit Science and Engineering Fair, again, she was pretty hesitant, wasn't sure if she had enough going on in terms of her project. She took it all the way to states.
Ivana's project is great. It's, she's a builder. She's fundamentally a tinkerer. She also cares a great deal about the environment and about the world in which she lives.
I like to work with people. I like to do something that has an impact.
Evan lives in Detroit, was very interested in the gentrification process. And when he was doing this whole thing, Chris Hemler, his faculty advisor, found this conference that was taking place at Michigan State University on the student planning project. Little did we know it was meant for college students.
It's called the Student Michigan Association for Urban Planning. They hold it at Michigan State every year, and it's normally held for professionals in the industry and students in college to kind of come and have a powwow and discuss what they think is going to happen next and talk about the future, basically. But that Q&A was one of the most interesting and not necessarily difficult, but challenging experiences I've had in this process. Was being put toe-to-toe with people who really know their stuff, the people who have been in this business for decades, who teach this, who teach urban planning, who teach the ideas that I was talking about.
Evan's going to be the mayor of Detroit someday. That's my prediction. We'll see if I'm right, 25 years from now. But, his commitment to an intellectual understanding of the topic, but also his commitment to sharing what he'd learned with lots of different audiences was really impressive.
At first you come up with a topic and it can completely change, which is absolutely fine, which is like part of the beauty of it. So I have currently how does the Asian economy affect kind of like the global GDP, and kind of looking into the various districts within the Asian economy and seeing how they affect each other. I went on a mission to Haiti, a medical mission. And so my dad and I, who's a doctor, we drive through miles of rubble due to the natural disasters that they've encountered. And all of a sudden we came across this area with, a Chase Bank, Wells Fargo, huge financial sectors. So I was curious to wonder, why is this so special? What makes this area much more cleaner, a lot more interest in business, these people more wealthy? What are they doing? What are their impacts in the world? And how might they be applied to other regions, such as Haiti, to help their economy and, more importantly, the people who live within those markets?
Nick really got to understand this business strategy, which is applicable to developing nations all across the world. But he took it a step further. He said, that's all well and good, and what are the drawbacks?
I've always wanted to be a dentist, specifically an orthodontist. My project is about the first dental amalgam war and anti-Semitism within the dental community during the early 19th century.
I thought that at the beginning I would be more focused on the actual dental aspects, what's better about mercury silver amalgam than gold foil, and kind of a more technically and scientific research. But what ended up happening is that it really became more of a history paper.
Lucy did what great researchers do, which is follow the trail of breadcrumbs. She became really interested in this funny little interdentistry battle that happened, hundreds of years ago when mercury amalgam first came to the United States.
Additionally, I think I've made some really good contacts during my ARP, because I actually got in touch with Alpha Omega, which is a Jewish dental fraternity, and they put me in touch with Dr. S. Perry Brickman. He's a retired oral surgeon from Atlanta, and we kind of became pen pals. He would email me and then I would email him back. For me, I really enjoyed most was meeting with Dr. Brickman and just kind of hearing his story.
And what you find is the college professors and the business people that our students reach out to, A, are incredibly eager to help support young people that want to learn more about their field, and B, wildly impressed by our students.
Kester was able to speak with some professionals at Oncotype DX, which is a company that's very interested in alternative forms of medicine.
My project is, how does oncotyping for specific genes provide for more viable treatment for breast cancer?
He did research on breast cancer, on various treatments, what does chemotherapy do, and then he realized, boy, I really need to understand what this whole genotype means, what does it mean to do genomic sequencing. So I contacted Dr. Susan Land at the Applied Genomics Center at Wayne State University. She was outstanding. Welcomed him and gave him a wonderful presentation.
She gave me a lecture about the whole process, and she gave me some more background information about my topic as well. And she even said she'd read my paper. So, I mean, getting all that help from a mentor was just, I did not expect it at all.
Ever since I was little, I was interested in science, especially biology. Lab work, ever since I was in middle school when we did pretty simple labs, and obviously in high school when we moved on to biology and chemistry labs. But I was just at the lab every day because it was great to work at a whole new different level.
Andrew Wu set out to create myocardiocytes from stem cells, so myocardiocytes being heart cells. His eventual goal, of course, is to create a heart, and we don't want to call it artificial, but it would be a heart that would be created from your own stem cells. That's big.
Ms. Mwalo was kind enough to get me in contact with Dr. Ortiz. He's the head of the Hypertension and Vascular Research Department at the Henry Ford Hospital in Detroit. He's obviously a huge part of this project. He's the reason why it's all possible. And a lot of the information and a lot of the experience I directly learned from him. It was astounding.
It's the idea that students have passions, and when given the opportunity and the time and the support to explore those passions, they're capable of far greater work than we've imagined previously. Sam's one of those great projects where he has explained it to me several times, and I'm still not fully sure exactly what's going on, other than that he's really looking to create energy.
I was building this device called a Hirsch-Farnsworth fuser, which is a nuclear fusion reactor that you can hypothetically build in your garage. It can actually work. It can actually do fusion. And if I take it to college, I'm going to major in physics. So any sort of nuclear physics research I need to do, it can be potentially facilitated by the thing I built in high school.
Personally, my passions are animals and art. It kind of started like a couple of years ago, like 9 years ago, when my family, we took a trip to Florida and we went to Dolphin Cove, which is one of like SeaWorld's marine parks. And at Dolphin Cove, they have this program called Be a Trainer for the Day. So you can kind of go jump in the tanks and swim with the dolphins, feed them fish and watch them do tricks. And as a kid, like, I thought that was amazing. So I kind of wanted to research something like that for my project. And like as I was researching it, I realized it wasn't as actually amazing for the dolphins in the experience as it was for us.
He was most taken with the human interaction of dolphins and the effects that that has on the dolphins. Did incredible research, but was able to use his wonderful talent of art to depict that human interaction, both positive and negative.
Amani is the Michigan winner of the Congressional Art Contest, and his work's going to be hanging in the Capitol for the next year, and he's going to DC in a couple weeks to be celebrated.
You'll see the seniors and you'll be like, oh my God, like this person has accomplished this much, like within just this span of time. And that's like really exciting to think about, where am I gonna be the next year?
I see Yovanna's water hydraulic generator project, Sam's nuclear fusion reactor. I see how much they can do in a year, and I'm thinking that I can also dream big. So they're like my role models. I want to be like them. I want to make projects that's even better than theirs.
I'm here as an alumna. I graduated again in 2013, and that was the first year that we implemented this program. And it's evolved considerably through the years, but some of us from our original class wanted to come back and see how things are doing now and give some of our little wisdom to the current seniors and juniors.
We were guinea pigs for a lot of different ideas that they wanted to implement in the school, I think. And it's really nice to see how much it's progressed and evolved.
The program has come so far since I was here. I think the projects, I would say, are so much more impressive than anything that we did.
Until you actually come back and you look at some of the progress that you've made, and you look at your old portraits and you're just like, okay, everything was worth it, all the stress, and that's another rewarding feeling as well.
I think it really put me ahead of my peers. What I was telling the juniors and the seniors in our panel interviews was, in my freshman writing course, I was surprised at how many people didn't know certain citation styles or how to write an annotated bibliography. It just gave us this research background that not a lot of people had the opportunity to have. So really grateful for that, because yes, it did facilitate my academic career in college.
ARP is Joe's legacy made manifest. It is the tangible evidence of his philosophy. And his philosophy comes down fundamentally to asking, a very simple question. What excites kids? What's best for student learners? And let's do that in school.
If you can have school be something that matters to kids and matters in the world, you've changed school. You fundamentally have changed school, and that's what we're trying to do at Liggett.